This is a completely safe space, and if you have any issues during the event, please come talk to one of us. My name is Lauren. This is Noel, Lucio. We have in the back Joaquin, we have Sadia, and somewhere we have Emily. And lastly, let's continue the conversation after the event. Please join us on our website, beta.nyc, where there's a link to our discussion forum, talk.beta.nyc, where we have a New York City NYC 311 working group. We already have a topic created for a specific data set. We want to hear your feedback, have conversations, share the hacks that you're doing, the maps, the analysis. We want to hear it all. And feedback that is left on this website, on this message board, will be compiled, and we'll be sharing it with our friends at 311 and DoITT. And they'll also be providing an email address for you to contact them as well if you have any questions or feedback. All right, so I'm going to, one last thing, just to kind of set the tone. 311 service call website that documents all of the complaints from various categories, from noise to parking violations, has been just an absolute gold mine. And we've been having so much fun in the civic tech community, learning more about our neighborhoods and diagnosing some of the issues. Here are 3 examples, sort of like image snippets of 3 awesome hacks that are done. The first one being Renter Be Aware, which is a Chrome extension that shows complaints that have been filed for particular addresses. If you're buying that apartment, maybe you want to know that there was 12 dead animals that were found in 2014. The second being Citigram, which is a BetaNYC project that stems from Code for America. It's a notification service so that you can select an area and learn more about the complaints that are being filed. And it's really fun to get an email about a complaint that you filed. All the time. And the last one is 311 Buddy, a recent tool that's created by Chris Long, where you can easily visualize 311 data that has been filed for the last 30 days. And there's also a 311 downloader, sort of you to download data for specific political areas, community districts, etc. So we're really excited to see what's going to come from the release of the call center data set. And I'm going to pass the baton now to Chenda and Magdalene from 311.
In our intro showed some awesome samples of work people have done with our service request data set, just to get a little bit of a sense of the crowd. How many people have used 301 as a person? How many people? Everyone knows what 301 is, I hope, but we'll tell you anyway. How many people have actually worked with our service request data? Okay, good. So you have some sense of what's out there already. For those of you that don't, which is okay, 301 is the city's non-emergency service and information line. We're available on multiple channels. As you can see, we did initiate as a call center in 2003. Since then, thanks to myself and other people too, Magdalene and other people in the room, we have expanded to many channels, and we handle all the requests, information and requests for the whole city. In doing a test, and I would definitely have a story history behind it, and if you want to hear about that, you should talk to Noel. So that was in response to legislation, not because we're so forward-thinking. The city put up an open data portal, and all of the agencies were requested to put out the data that they had, so to support that effort, we put out our data. And it was pretty scary. We didn't know what was going to happen, and lots of people did lots of awesome things with it. So some of that data it's all structured. Some of it is customer generated, some of it's generated just by the tool that we use, so that's some of the date stamping and so forth, and then some of it is the responses from the agency. And this is a map that I assume one of you have made, but actually this is somebody who works at 301 made this beautiful map for us. So we have a new data set. We've been working on it. Just to pause for a second to say, we at 301, Magdalene, myself, as well as the larger team that supports us, work as partners with DoITT, the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications, and Al and Ralph are here, as well as part of their team. And they're really the ones who do the work with the open data, make it available, answer your questions and things like that. So I want to give a shout out to them, and that's also because I'll probably drive them up to answer some of your questions. So in talking with them, and actually I have to credit Councilmember Kalos, I think was the original requester for this, but he's not here. Wanted to put out the data set of the actual agent handle calls in the call center. So that's what the data set is. Again, like most data sets that the city puts out, it's an output from something we're doing. We didn't create it just so that you guys would play around with it. It's the output of our call center agents using the application to handle the calls that they get. So it's this globe right here I'm holding. It's a subset of all the calls we get because, as you may know, if you're for some reason using this telephone to access 301, which you shouldn't be doing, you should be using your mobile device or the internet or something else. But if you're using an actual telephone, you may be aware that we have some automated messaging and handling up front. So the agent handle calls are a subset of all of the calls to 301 because many of our calls are handled by that automated system. They're also a subset of all of the transactions we have overall across the enterprise in that graphic you saw earlier. That's just a prepping for what it is. This is to give you some idea of that breakdown. This is January 15 to May 16, so that's about a year and 5 months of data. Yeah. The light blue is actually the automated handling received. This is for the call center call volume, and the darker blue is the agent handle calls. So the data set that you're all going to get to play around with is that darker blue area. We wanted to show this longer period because you can see it varies. We're getting down to about 40% is the most agent handle. This is in January 16. Does anybody know what happened in January this year? Yes. Also, NYC was launched, which was a big, am I right? Yeah. Sorry, 15, right. So why is that dipping? I don't know. That was my guess. But look, I'm wrong. So something happened in January 16th. Snow is a good answer. Usually, actually, snow has a huge uptake on the automated side also because most people's inquiries can be handled. So erase what I said about NYC. So we wanted to show that it does vary, but as you can see, the pattern stays consistent. All right, so why do we have calls that are handled by an agent in the call center? For the most part, we hope it's customer preference. Some customers prefer to talk to an agent. It's also less common topics, and that's not the greatest term there. It's really because if you're calling to find out if parking rules are in effect, you're definitely going to be serviced by that initial message. So for really huge buckets of calls, those are what's in the automated messaging. And if you're calling about a subway complaint or something like that, that we're actually going to divert you to the MTA, you're probably going to be handled by the automated messaging. So less common is most of our topics. 301 has a very long tail, but that really highest volume stuff you're not going to see in this data set. There are still topics that can only be handled in the call center. There's a number of reasons for those, and if you start playing with the data set and you want to know what those are, we're happy to work with you. Some examples of those are application status for a program called the Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption. Traffic signal defects can only be handled in the call center. And a lot of property tax questions, things like that. And lastly, languages other than English, you're going to be best serviced from the call center. We have a translation service where we bring an agent from a vendor on the line to talk to you in your language of choice. So these are the probably top reasons. Here's what's in the data set. It's not very many fields. There's unique key, which I think is assigned by Sequata. The date the call was received, the time the call was received, the agency. It's an acronym. I forgot to add the name of the agency, sorry. We'll add that later. There is a table, you can check it. The inquiry name, and we're going to actually go to the data set after this, so you'll see some examples, you'll see the real stuff. A brief description of that topic, and then how the call was handled. We might want to cut to the data set now. Yeah, you're going to have to search for it. Oh, we are. Okay. Oh, we are? Okay. I need to pull it down. Did they make the table in?
experience, and how are you going to go and navigate, find, or nice in your data set. So everyone's super excited.
All the way down. Sure. This is a new fish feature, right? Where we show you guys this stuff, the data lens.
Yeah, over the last year.
Yeah. So I'm just going to get down to the data because that's usually the level I look at. But if you would like, I'm sure Ralph and I will be happy to talk you through the data lens portion. So
Can you bring up the text?
Can you increase the size of the
I can help.
yeah. Okay.
text?
Alright, there we go. So you're going to see those few number of fields here.
Better in the back? Yeah.
Or you can get up too. Okay, so can you actually see in the back? Someone in the back? You can get up. Yeah. Unique key, date, time. The time is random when it comes within the date, turns out. I don't know. Well, hard to tell. The agency, again, if you work with our other data sets, this might not be, I don't think this is going to be a huge stumbling block, but we're giving you the acronym and then a table with the full agency name. This is the inquiry name, so find the towed vehicle, plate number known, noise from neighbor, outside of 301 jurisdiction, noise from club or bar. This is the exciting world that all of us live in. And then the last, if you can show a little next to it. Okay, and these are the call resolution. The call resolution is a bunch of things that sound like codes that you don't understand, and again, that's because this is a data set right out of our system that the agency uses. So we have given you, we've given you definitions to these in the data dictionary. For the most part, there are different things that roll up into larger categories, and that's what we've given you in the data dictionary. There's pretty much a limited number of things that can happen to resolve your call, so that's what that column is. So actually, I think I'll just leave us on here because it's so awesome, right? So what can you do with this? That was one of the questions the beta team asked us. I think we're looking to you guys to do stuff, and hoping you have ideas. I would say the main thing is, well, there's no geo information, so you can't make a map. But if you want to make a map, you can make a map on the service request data. There's no geo information, there's no customer information, there's no information about what language the call took place in, there's none of that. It's really these columns and that's what you get. So you want to combine the thoughts that there is not that information with the idea that this is a subset of the overall information and these were calls handled by an agent. What I think would be interesting to look at is volumes and patterns and themes over time, because you will have that. We've gone back to 2011, which is the same as the service request data set, so you can definitely compare trends over time. You can look for responses to specific events and inquiries, like NYC, like homelessness. You can figure out which topic is your interest and look at that over time. And you can also look at volumes and patterns that are created by unplanned events and weather, assuming you have another data set to combine this with.
That you will find.
So we're going to add the agency names, we're going to complete the call resolution definitions, and we're going to be evaluating the feedback from you and looking at what else we need to incorporate. So as far as feedback, we'll get to questions now. Looks like we have plenty of time. I talk fast. I definitely encourage you to use the beta platform for your conversation before you bring questions to us, just because you're going to have a group of experienced, interested users there to support you and each other. Also, Lauren will roll up that information to us. And I'll leave on the screen in the end an email address for the support team where you can also email us questions, concerns, comments. So that's what I got. What can I tell you? Questions? Yes?
So I walked in late, so I apologize if you covered this, but I guess in the past, maybe 3-4 years ago, I remember you did have geo and you did have like a resolution time. I don't know exactly what the resolution time actually meant, but is there a reason
Okay,
that
so,
that's no longer?
yeah, so the service request data, which are tickets, is where the customer provides information. We process that ticket and the agency responds record that is gonna, and I think that that's like one of the harder things to understand about this, so we definitely need your help in how clear we need to make that. Yes, next.
Is there a timestamp?
There's, yeah, I mean, there's the time of the call.
You said that was random.
No, I'm sorry, the order that they're presented. I was hoping here they would be, no, it's, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, no, this is presented, sorry,
All right.
presented. Ralph and I was hoping these would come in, because actually, when you look at the pattern, we put it up to practice, and it was like starts at midnight, and we looked at it for Saturday night, so it was like nothing but like the calls you get starting at midnight on Saturday night, which are all like noise and, you know, animal, like just, you know, New York midnight on a Saturday. So this is midnight on a Sunday, but it's not actually in order.
So we can speak to what sort of.
You also have a copy that's not extra crowded?
Yeah, of course. We have our own. I mean, this is something we're giving to put out on Open Data Portal. This is not the information we use to do our work. This is an output that we're sharing, right? So we have our own very complex, very modern technology set up to support our operations. Yes? I'm sorry, I'm going to deal with her because she's back.
You said that at this stage, this data set cannot be linked to the other data sets. I mean, is that deliberate? Is that, I mean, is there, presumably there would be value in actually making these things intertwined and making groups so that that's.
I mean, I think we didn't link them because they're not linked for us.
Okay.
We don't, Verone at this point in time is not built to be customer focused, it's built to be incident focused, so we actually don't keep too tight a link because when we set up we were very focused on customer privacy, and because whether, you know, how DoT is going to respond to you is who you are is pretty irrelevant, right? And that's what we all want. It's not that you're going to get better service because you're some gold or platinum customer. So, and a lot of, you know, so there is a relationship between a service request and a customer. Many service requests have an anonymous customer or don't have a customer. So that's a service request data set. You could circumstantially, and I assume some of you will go to do this, you have a timestamp, you have the topic, you have that a service request was created. You could go to the service request data set and find the service request that was created. Find the whole set that's created, you know, how many are there going to be within that same time period. You could assume that that's a service request. However, this is the call center agent handle calls, and our service request data set is from all of our channels. And in many of our service request topics, mobile is actually already outweighing all other categories, if not call center. So this data set is only telling you about the customers that the
own relation to provide the customer with some sort of information. You'll see
homeless shelter intake.
Homeless shelter intake, that's again us providing information to someone who called in and said, hey, you know what, I want to know where I can go if I'm homeless. So like John was saying, those are going to be the bulk of what you're going to see. And hopefully with the resolution actions and the definitions that we've provided, you'll get a gauge of what kind of happened during that call. And most of it is information-based. People who have a complex need that they cannot handle in any other channel that's a lot more transactional.
And for then, like with homeless shelter intake, it doesn't mean that person didn't go on to have a substantial interaction with the city in some way. It's just that that interaction didn't happen on 301. They didn't submit information and create a request or a complaint. So you're going to see a lot of things that go on to other processes in the city. It's just 301 does a limited set of intake for complaints, and I think what'll be nice is this gives you some sense of the overall scope that we handle, which is way more than service requests. And you're going to see people's interest in the different topics and different things the city offers through this data set in a way that you're not getting on the service request, because in the service request data set, you're only getting the things that we offer people to make complaints about, right? Yes? Yes, you.
Okay, so do you have a problem? Would you consider them as a duplicate when you see it here? Because I'm assuming that there are a lot of these calls that are not going to be translated to be a service request. Would you take care of also duplicate when such a thing?
Yeah, we don't handle things differently because of duplicates. Maybe in the case of like a water main break and somebody calling to say, hey, there's a huge water main break, do you guys know about it? If we have that in a context where the reps are like, yes, it's on 59th and 5th. But either for inquiries, because again, this is the output of our system the agents use to handle the call. So for them, they still have to handle the call. You're not going to see anything different here. if 60 people called about noise from a neighbor, you'll see 60 calls here, even if it's the same noise. And in fact, we don't have a way for you to know it's the same noise, right? On the service request side, we also, for the most part, have just multiple records. Again, that's about the complaint the person made, so that is a record of complaints. It's not a record of incidents, right? And those complaints may be a 50 complaint to 1 incident ratio, but we're the customer facing end, so for us what's important is taking it in. So I don't think you have anything helpful in terms of duplicate handling, certainly not here, because you're only going to have the topic. And on the service request side, I guess you'd have to look at the time frame and the condition and the topic. And sometimes that'll be duplicate, and sometimes it actually won't, right?
Sometimes they close tickets for duplicate reasons, and I think they say that.
I'm sorry?
Sometimes they close tickets for duplication, and then they say that in there, so sometimes they close it quickness for the
Right, and that would be the agency closing
Yes,
to
yeah.
duplicate. So we may not, in most cases, in fact, we do not have insight into that. For us, we're just handling the customer, and then the agency is the one that recognizes it. Yes?
Yeah, suppose you wanted to pull records on a Saturday night or a Sunday or a holiday. Would you be able to do that?
Do you mean is the data
For a
available?
timestamp, yeah.
Yeah, the data's available. It's going to be refreshed nightly, right? That's automated?
Yeah, do you mean you want to actually?
Well, if something was happening on any of those 3 or one of those 3.
Oh yeah, you
could derive the timestamp.
You can filter it and download it, yeah. Based on the day and time.
Yeah. Yes?
For community boards, location is very important, right? Because you have jurisdiction of certain areas. So where do you get that information? It's not here, so.
There's no geo information in this data set. There is none.
So would that be another data set that you can access? Or?
No, because we don't take any geo information from the caller. This is a pretty simple interaction. Magdalene calls up. She says, "What's the first day of school?" I say, "Oh, the first day of school is September 8th, 2016. She says, "Thank you, goodbye." We don't know where she's calling from. We don't know anything about her. So that's what is reflected here in that we don't have any geo information about her. The goal at 301 is to make the transaction as simple as possible for the customer while providing them the information we need. So we're never asking for geo information unless it's necessary for the complaint. You know, in the service request data set, those are based on the incident. The customers for all of us could live in Timbuktu, right? We don't know, but there's no geo information in this data set.
For the service request, there is data.
Yes, because those are
specific to the
specific incidents, complaints, requests at a specific location. Yes.
So in the service request data set, there is also a category for request for information, and but there are also requests for information in this data set. Are those the same? Do they overlap?
Those are different. This data set, you mean where it says information request?
Yeah.
So that's one of this call resolution, and the call resolution column, again, which we've defined, and you'll see when you start using this, there are really many fewer than the overall list, because a couple say the same thing. That means we were able to resolve the call to the agency through a standardized form that's offered, and it has drop-downs, and one of the values in the drop-down is request for information. So when you see request for information in the service request data set, it's coming from that side of the house. It's not actually, the call center, Bureau 1 doesn't use that resolution. I know that's not crystal clear, but if I can back up.
If I could like say it in a
Yeah,
different way. So the one that you'll find in the service request data set, that is information that's being provided by the agency itself. Versus here is information that 311 is providing to the consumer. So that's a distinction between the two.
Right, thank you. What else? No? Yes.
I'm actually a question for this gentleman.
Go ahead, Val.
Can you say anything about data sets that will soon be available? For example, I'm wondering something that's sort of conspicuously absent in these data concerns lead levels of the detect. I don't know if that has made it any way into 311 calls or lead levels, whether in the air or in soil or pipes or any of that kind of stuff. And also, I wonder if there's any information too. You seem to give information about how long it takes for a call to be received and then for emergency services to be dispatched. But I'm wondering if there's information about how long it takes from, the resolution of emergency to actually reaching a hospital.
So anything that we're going to release should be in our compliance plan. If you go to the main page, there's a link that says what is it, click here to view our dashboard, and then there's a tab.
To the other.
Yeah, a tab that says planned releases, and so any new data sets that we're going to add to the portal eventually at some point, they should be on there with the planned release date and description of the data set.
Okay, so that's the, this dash, there.
Yeah. And we generally make monthly updates to that list, so that's the best place to use that. And that's the data sets that agencies release to us, that the agencies tell us that they're going to release.
Okay, and then where you see that have a mechanism by which people can also make requests for.
Yes, if you want to see a data set on there, there's a nominate data set feature, I think at the top.
In your experience, is there some method that actually makes those certain kinds of requests more successful than others? Is it more people? Is it more? Yeah.
In terms of requesting data sets? No. As of this point, it's whether one person requests it or 10 people request the data set. We route it to the data set owner, so whoever that agency is, and we work with them to prioritize it. Yeah, sure.
I was just curious, how come the language of the call was not included? Is that something you do track?
We definitely track it. It is not that reliable, and we track it in a slightly different way that meant it wasn't an obvious choice to include in this data set. That's kind of the simplest I can put it. Yeah, it's not like, oh, that column's there, let's take it out. It's been tracked differently.
Data set, it's going to perform better for folks this way.
Yeah, it is a huge data set. I'm not going to mention that. How many?
55 million. It's one of our bigger data sets. Other than the taxi data, it's the biggest data set we have.
55 million rows?
Yeah.
We're busy folks. I don't know if you guys got on. Yeah.
Oh, I see that up there showing 122,638 rows.
That's it. So we wanted you to have good performance when filtering and sorting, so this was the best option.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only problem is that it doesn't provide for the similar type of filtering that you would have when you were looking at within the tabular view. You know, doing roll-ups and doing the kind of like the pivot table functions.
Yeah, so I mean, some of that functionality is available via the API, but you're right. So we're going to work with Socrata to see what can be done, but we didn't want to wait to release this data set, so this was how we can get it to you sooner and quicker.
55 million rows.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, you just download it.
I did want to say a word about 911 because someone brought it up. 911 calls, so people who call 301 and end up being transferred to 911 are in this data set, and you'll see those by topic. That, I don't know, I'm going to ask, you wouldn't necessarily take that as gospel because sometimes that's that's probably the most stressful call for an agent, and they're having communication with the 911 agent, and ultimately the 911 agent is the one who's going to determine how that call is handled once the 911 agent accepts it from the 301 agent. So I think it's a good indicator of 911 calls that people call 301 and end up getting sent to 911 calls, but it's not an indicator of overall 911 calls, and it's, you know, that's a NYC data set. I don't have to make that available or not, but you definitely will see those in there. There's nothing about how those are resolved. There's no time that it takes an ambulance to get there. There's no, how even 911 categorized it when they got it to their shop is not included in here. So just to be clear about what that is and isn't. Yes?
Sometimes a call might be connected to 911, and then 911 might tell 311 to handle it at 311?
Yes.
How is that represented?
So I believe that will end up being represented just as a topic, because that initial interaction where 301 said, no, this is 911, and the 911 agent said, no, it's not, put it back, you'll see alarm in the past or something, because the initial interaction isn't part of what's going to get stamped on this record, because the record is how the call was resolved. So the fact that that interaction happened is not something you're going to see in here. And that does happen. Not so far. Yes.
Yeah, how come you lost half of the calls? Because you didn't lose any customers.
How come I lost half the
Yeah,
calls?
it's like,
What?
well, in 2010 you have about 1 million, and now we have 500. I mean,
Yeah.
the residents are increasing, and
It's a
the,
great story, let me tell you.
Okay,
So back in 2011, if we compare 301 in 2011 to today, one thing that's changed is all of our access points. So we've increased in introducing text, mobile app, websites. We have, and we mentioned about the IVR earlier, it's voice interactive now. So we've added all these new channels that kind of help us handle the quick, easy services, and agents can then focus on the more complex items. So the reason why you see the pattern up here, if I can get to it, so that everyone can see what we're talking about here, it's this trend. It's kind of going down. Yes, we have more New Yorkers. Yes, population is growing, but everyone is also updating their technology. So you can access us in whatever way is convenient, and calling is not the only option. Back in 2011, 2010, call center was your main bet. Now you can download the mobile app and do different things. So that's why you can see that trend.
Yeah, and if we were giving you our overall transactions, which we're not, but if you saw those are going up significantly. So 301 transactions, interaction with the customer has gone up over time, and to something I'm going to look at my colleagues last year was
200 million last year.
200.
March by March 2015.
34 million contacts last year.
Yeah.
All
So the call center portion of that is going down. That's our strategy enacted. That was in 2008. You know, we were like, budget got cut. There's financial crisis. What are we going to do? And we very deliberately went into all these other areas with the goal of reducing the call center volume to the most appropriate calls handled or customer preference. That is explicitly for us who should be in the call center channel, and everybody else should be in wherever they want to be and able to get the same information and services they want in whatever channel they prefer. So we expect this trend to go down. At one point, we were trying to get it to go away. We've accepted at this point we're going to have a call center. We have a great call center operation. We're curious to see, because there are certain things that still are kind of locked in the call center that we think should be available more widely. Once we continue to knock all those off, then it really is just customer preference, how big or small that call center customer population remains. But we're not there yet, but clearly we're on our way, which is great news for us. So that's part of the story.
So describe again what's being substituted here.
This
so,
is,
so back in the past, I would have called 311.
Yes.
You're claiming that the line is decreasing because folks have different channels to interact with.
Yes.
More about what those channels are.
So folks are getting handed in the automated messaging, which is part of the call center experience.
So in other words, they hear the information they were looking for through push button.
Yeah, or they have an interaction. More recently, they have an interaction with a voice-based IVR where they say, "Can you tell us what you're calling about?" And I say, "Subway complaint," and then I get routed directly to the MTA because that's who handles subway complaints.
Okay.
That's one portion. The mobile app, text, not chat, well, chat, and the website.
And these are all channels that 311 funds or city funds.
Yeah.
So why are they not in that data set?
Because
if you're paying for it and there are interactions with 311, then how will you know if you're actually doing better?
Well, we know that data. We just have to put it in this data set. I mean, we track it.
Well, we won't be able to tell you. We'll say something is decreasing, but not whether or not that's improvement, but
it sounds like
you have routing to another channel.
Yes, it sounds like you have a request for the open data portal of another data set.
Okay.
What else? All right, so that's our, oh, yes, no, good. All right, that's our stuff. We can't wait for you to use it. Please use the talk channel to talk to each other. That'll get rolled up to us, or you can email us directly. Would you mind flipping that? Yeah, this email address goes to Ralph for now, and they'll send it to us. We, on this one, just to let you know, I called Noel a couple weeks ago and said, hey, we want to put this out to a small group of users to see how you guys like it, and through the conversation, Noel's like, hey, if you're going to be open, put it out. So this is us putting it out. We haven't spent a lot of time with it, so, you know, we're looking to learn from you, and we are curious to see what you're going to learn. So keep in touch, let us know, and if you have more questions, we're here till 1:30. Thank you.
Thanks. So for everyone who's on the live stream, we're going to put all these slides up on beta.nyc. as well as our Facebook. And for all of you who are paying attention, please give constructive criticism. I want to really commend 311 and DoITT for being here. Some of you were around for the trees count data jam that we did 2 weeks ago. We're trying to get the city to be more open and participatory, and they're only going to do it if we do it in a constructive, positive way. So please do think about that these are human beings who do want to improve their work product, and that they want positive, constructive feedback, as we would all do as we're working in our lives and the things that we're doing. So big hats to 311 and DoITT for opening another New York City data set in an open and collaborative way. Send them feedback. We'll be collecting feedback, and I just wanted to say thank you. And for those of you on live stream, sorry for the Wi-Fi issues. So thank you.